right, we are going to take off right where we left off. We were talking about arithmetic sequences. So that is going to be, to find one, we want to do the common difference, which is the difference between any two consecutive terms. And that is what you're adding. It could be both positive or negative to each term to get to the next one. That is how you will decide what it is. Remember that we denote everything as any term could be a sub n, and the common difference is a lowercase d. All right, so when we're looking at this in algebraic terms, when we talk about that second term, to get to the first term, you will want, so to get to the second term from the first term, you would add the first term to one of the plus one of the common differences to get to the next one. So that would look like if we looked at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, to get from term 1 to term 2, we would need to add 2. Well, to get to from term 1 to term 3, we would need to add 2 times. So that's what this is saying right here. So to get from term 1 to term 3, we need to add 2 of the common differences. The way that we denote this for any term is using that. So that is the explicit expression that we are going to be using going forward. Okay, so we're going to practice by using this example of a person named Lisa who's going to use a glass jar in her office to collect coins. She's going to start by putting $11.25 into that jar, and then every day she's going to add 70 cents. And we want to find how much money she would have after 100 work days. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write what our first term is. Well, she's starting with $11.25, and our common difference is 70 cents. She's adding 70 cents. So then that is the equation that we're going to use, and then we're going to fill it out according to this particular problem. Let me look this up. And then we end up with, I've got the work right here, I think. There we go. So you state the formula, we're going to substitute in our particular one, and we're going to solve, and we get $80.55. So go ahead and get that down, hit pause if you need to. Okay, so this one is the same thing. We're given that our first term is 25 and our common difference is 3. We need to find the 50th. So we're going to do that, then we do that, and we end up with 172. So now we need to find our common difference. So to find a common difference for this infinite arithmetic sequence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this term minus this term and get 12. But I'm going to make sure that this is an arithmetic sequence, and I'm going to do it one more time and make sure that the common difference is 12 for both of them. If it is not the same number every time, then it is not an arithmetic sequence. Okay, so now we are going to talk about listing numbers. So one of the things is you'll be given, you might be given a couple of different bank percentages, both as a decimal and in a fraction. So sometimes you might see 1 1/4% or 1 3/8%. So we need to be able to convert those into a fraction. So what you do is you write down your 1 from the 1, and then you find out what 1 divided by 4 is, which is 0.25, and then you add it to this, and it's 1.25%. You do the same thing here. So if we are looking at those things, when we're comparing what Grace wants to do for the bank, she wants to make a deposit in a certificate deposit, which is a type of savings that you usually don't add any money to or withdraw any money without any penalties. So this is the percentages that we're given, and we want to figure out which one is going to be the highest percentage. One of the things that the book suggests is that you make everything the same size so you're able to compare greatest to largest or least to greatest. So if we take this one and we had found those decimals, which we did over here, so we were able to compare. If I had added a 0 there to make them all the same length, we would be able to compare it, and we would see that 1.22% it was the smallest amount offered, and 1 3/8% was the largest. So eSavings Bank gave us the highest interest rate for that 2-year CD. And we've talked about checking accounts and savings accounts, that there are sometimes minimum balances that you have to have, and then there's also a penalty that can go with that if you're below a certain balance. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, for this Raul's savings account, we're going to figure out if he started with $716.23, we're going to subtract the $225, and we're going to get that is $591.23. I'm sorry, $491.23. So if it's $491.23, that is less than $500. So his account balance isn't going to be $491.23 at the end of the month. He's going to get charged that $4 fee. So I need to subtract that as well, and I get that his account balance is $487.23. So here are the steps that you would take. Subtract the withdrawal, compare to the minimum balance, subtract the penalty, and then you have your final balance. So taking those steps, we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to create an algebraic expression. So May has $189 in her account to start with, and then she is charged $7 a month if she goes below $750. So if she withdraws $315, what would the expression look like? So we got to make sure that it's not less than $750. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract, and I get $576, which is definitely less than $750. So she's going to lose $7 for X amount of months. So I'm going to write that her monthly balance is, here we go, 576 minus 7 times X months, right? So if it's only 2 months, we could put a 2 there, and we would know that she was charged $14 total. Okay, so now we're going to start talking about simple interest. And the simple interest formula is I equals PRT. Capital P for principal, typically that's your starting amount or first deposit. Your rate, and this is going to be expressed as a decimal. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then the number of years. So everyone needs to have this in their notes. I wrote it this way because it's a little bit bigger, but go ahead and put that in your notes. So I'm going to show you how to use that formula. So Mitchell's going to deposit $1,200 into an account that pays a 1.5% in simple interest. He keeps the money in the account for 3 years, and he makes no deposits, no withdrawals. And then so how much money will be in his account after 3 years? So this is kind of a two-part question, because simple interest only gives you the interest that is gained on that amount of money. It doesn't give you a final result of what you would earn at the end. We'll have to do an extra step. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my principal. So P equals 1,200. Then I'm going to identify my rate. So rate is written in a percent, but I need it as a decimal. So even though it's 1.5% and that looks like a decimal, I actually need to turn that percentage into a decimal. So the way that you do that is you divide it by 100. If you have learned a trick to do it differently, then go ahead and do that, but this is the way that but if you don't remember, this is how you do it in your calculator. So that is the decimal for it, and then my time was 3 years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of that together. 1,200 times 0.015 times 3, which is $54. Now that account doesn't have $54 in it at the end of the month. Again, that's just the interest that was earned. So once I have that, then I need to do my interest rate plus my original principal, and I get 54 plus 1,200, which is 1,254. Again, here are all the steps. If you have any questions, let me know. But I would jot this in your notes. Okay, here's an example of just using the simple interest to find how much interest was earned. So how much simple interest is earned on a $4,000 deposit in 3.5 years at an interest rate of 1.2%. So again, I'm going to use that simple interest formula. I'm going to identify my P, which is 4,000. I'm going to identify my rate as a decimal, which is 1.2 divided by 100. And I'm going to write my time as a decimal because it's a little bit easier to put into a formula than 3.5. Then I'm going to plug it all in, and I'm going to get that this person earned $168 in just interest in a 3.5 year with an interest rate of 1.2%. So sometimes we'll ask you how long or how much has been earned in only 7 months, which is less than a year, and T is represented as an time in years. So we're going to use a fraction to help us with that. So again, I'm going to use the same exact formula. I'm going to identify my P, which is my principal, which is 2,000. My rate is 2%, which is 2 divided by 100, which is 0.02. And then I'm going to represent my time as 7 months out of 12 months. So 7/12 would be the amount in time in years. It would be 7/12 years. And then I'm going to plug that into my formula, and I get that my interest was 23.333333333. But in this class, and especially when you're talking about money, we're only going to round to the nearest penny. So since 3 is the next number after this, it's going to stay the same, and we're going to leave it at $23.33. So here are all the steps that you would do for that. Again, you could put it as a decimal, but Desmos will let you write it just like this, so I would do it this way. So in this class, we're going to talk about days also, and sometimes you'll be asked a question for a non-leap year or just a year. Unless otherwise stated, we're going to agree that there are 365 days in a year. That is a typical amount of days that we talk about when we talk about using interest and figuring that out. So you can do this when you're only given, if it's given 300 days. So a fraction for that would be 300 over 365 days. That's how many, that's what you would say in years. So it would be 365ths of a year. So again, identify our principal, which is 100 on this particular problem. Our rate is that, and divided by 100, and then I get that, and then I plug it all in, and I end up with my interest being $11.24. Again, this was a number that went way further, and the number was less than 5 next to the 4, so I left it the same. Alright, so you should be able to do the assignment that was posted yesterday, September 22nd, and September 21st. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.